Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Let us start lecture number 10 with a little bit revision of previous things which we have studied, and then we'll be doing one question on that area which we have already studied. Then the new topic which we will be discussing inshallah at the end of this video, that is going to be a discussion relating to trust. Just trust me that at the end of this lecture we'll be discussing trust, and basically after this lecture, when the lecture number 11 will come inshallah, that will be on employment income. So basically I really want to cover each and everything. I want not to leave a single stone unturned. We are going to turn all the stone. We never know from where we can get the gold. Okay, leave that. So what happened to the pen? Pen is here. Okay, just few previous concepts which we have already discussed. Number one, if someone is a member of registered pension scheme, okay, there are only two registered pension scheme in ATX. One is personal pension scheme, another is occupational pension scheme. Then that individual gets annual allowance limit of £40,000. Okay, if someone contributes less than the annual allowance limit, then unused limit is carried forward for 3 tax years, and it is being used on FIFO basis. And how does this limit is being consumed? Maximum there are 4 contributions which can consume this limit. One is if individual is contributing for himself in gross PPC. Second, if that individual is an employee is contributing in occupational pension scheme. So just a minute, the annual allowance is 40,000. Maximum 4 contributions can consume this limit, less employees contribution in OPPC. Second, less individuals contribution in gross PPC. Third, less employers contribution in PPC. Fourth and the last, less employers contribution in OPPC. These are the maximum 4 contributions which are going to consume this limit. If your final answer is a positive value, which means you have unused limit. An unused limit of annual allowance can be carried forward for 3 tax years, and it is being used on a FIFO basis. Second, if you are getting a negative answer means your contribution has exceeded than the limit. If there's a negative balance at the end, negative balance means contribution is more than the annual allowance limit. Whenever the contribution is more than the annual allowance limit, then annual allowance charge comes, and on that annual allowance charge, individual is supposed to pay the tax, and applicable tax rates which we are going to apply on annual allowance charge, they are from the non-saving income, and annual allowance charge is going to be taxed at the end of all other sources of income. We have also studied one concept where individuals' personal allowance starts reducing. If any individual is having ANI more than 1 lakh, then what happens? Personal allowance starts reducing. How do we calculate adjusted net income? I'm going to take net income. Okay, all you need is just deduct gross PPC from that net income. In my book, in my previous lecture, I did mention that we are supposed to deduct gross gift aid donation also, but I think plenty of time I did mention in my lecture as well that gross gift aid donation is not in ATX. So you will get ANI, adjusted net income. Simply, if adjusted net income is more than 1 lakh, then personal allowance reduces. And if someone is having adjusted net income more than equal to 1,25,000, then that individual get personal allowance 0. What is the formula of reducing the personal allowance? You're going to write ANI, deduct 1 lakh and take the 50% of this. We have also discussed one more thing, that every individual in UK gets annual allowance limit for the pension £40,000, but there are some of the individuals, they are really rich people. They have deep pockets. Okay, you can call them their magnets. Okay, if those individuals are really rich, for them there's one more rule also. What is that? If two conditions are met, then what happens? Annual allowance 40,000 limits also reduce for some of the individuals. But when does annual allowance 40,000 pension limit reduces? When two conditions are met. So condition number 1, threshold income must be more than 200,000. Condition number 2, adjusted income must be more than 240. Adjusted income must be more than 240. If both of these conditions are met, then annual allowance limit of 40,000 also reduces. First question, how do we calculate these two limits, threshold and adjusted net income? And the second question is, what is the format of reducing annual allowance limit? Let me first tell you, how do we calculate threshold income? Now listen carefully. The format of threshold income and adjusted net income is same. What did I say? Let me repeat. The format of adjusted net income ANI, this one, and threshold income is same. If I want to calculate threshold income, I have the same format. In fact, your ANI and threshold is the same thing. Let me write the net income. Okay. From this net income, I'm going to deduct gross PPC. I will get threshold income. Second, how do we calculate adjusted income? It has a different format. And guys, you have to be very much familiar with these formats. You have to remember these formats, because whenever the question comes, you should be in a position to recall these formats. Adjusted income. How do we calculate adjusted income? Let me write first. You need to write net income. And this time we are not deducting anything from the net income. Actually, we are adding something to the net income. We will add individuals' contribution in OPPC. Individual means employee in OPPC. Assuming that individual is an employee and this individual has contributed into occupational pension plan. So we have to add it. We will add employer's contribution. Employer's contribution. We'll add employer's contribution in OPPC. If employer has contributed in occupational pension scheme for the employee, so we'll add that. We'll add one more. Employer's contribution in PPC. Employer's contribution in PPC. So you will get adjusted income. If your threshold income is more than 200,000 and your adjusted income is more than 240, then actually what happens, your annual allowance limit starts reducing. What is the format of, now let's say someone has met both the conditions, then let me write annual allowance is £40,000. Okay, from this 40 I will deduct adjusted income minus 240 minus 240 minus 240, and then I'm going to take 50% of this. But your annual allowance limit cannot go to 0. Minimum everyone gets at least 4,000. So it cannot be 0. For example, let me write this. Let's assume someone is having adjusted income of assuming 3,50,000. From 350, if I deduct 240 and I take 50% of this, it will be the answer comes even more than the 40,000, but I'm going to just write 36. And over here I'll be writing 4,000 because annual allowance, and I'm going to explain why I have written 36. I'm going to explain to my marker, examiner, that annual allowance limit cannot become 0. At least it will be the minimum limit 4,000 everybody will get. The maximum is 40, the minimum is 4, it cannot become 0. Personal allowance can become 0, but annual allowance for the pension cannot become 0. And we did discuss one more rule. Any individual who is having adjusted income more than equal to 3,12,000, that individual is going to have annual allowance 4,000. So if anyone is having adjusted income more than equal to 3,12,000, then that individual is actually going to have annual allowance 4,000. So that was all which we have already discussed. Okay, now let us solve one question in which all these rules you can see. We have already discussed one question, if I'm not wrong. The name of the question was, I believe, Stella and Morris, where we have seen the application of all these concepts which I've just discussed with you people. But let us discuss one more question where we can see the application of these concepts again. So we are discussing question 43 from my book. The name of the question is shuttle, and you can find this question on my book, page 61. We are just discussing part A. The part B is also there, but we have not studied that area, so I'm not discussing part B. I'm just discussing part A, shuttle. What I'll be doing, number one, I'm going to explain entire question on this screen, and after that I'm going to solve this question obviously on Excel, and because everybody knows that now entire ACC is CD based, and after some time, inshallah, number of questions we are going to solve exactly on, I'm going to go to CB platform, which you are going to face in exam. So I'll be solving most of the question after few lectures. You will find not some of the question you will find on CB platform of ACC. I'll be solving P680X question on CB platform of ACC, so that you can exactly know the format which you are going to face in exam. Okay, so not to get worried, just concentrate on lectures, try to revise, make proper notes, try to learn the rules. Part A, it says calculate shuttle's income tax liability for the tax year 2021. Just calculating income tax liability for shuttle, you can get 8 marks. Wow, your examiner is really generous over here. Point 2, calculate the amount of tax relief obtained by shuttle as a consequence of gross PPC 1,20,000 on 6 April 2020. We need to calculate amount of tax relief obtained. How much actually tax relief she has obtained due to making gross PPC of 1,20,000. You can assume no reduction in pension annual allowance was necessary in the tax year 2021. No reduction in pension annual allowance means in 2021 she was getting the annual allowance 40,000. There is no need to reduce this 40. It is, the question itself says you can assume there is no reduction to the pension annual allowance of 40,000. Okay, so let us now read the question. Your firm has been asked to provide advice to shuttle in connection with personal pension contribution and to 3 non-UK domicile individual in connection with the remittance basis taxation overseas income and gains. We won't be able to discuss anything about relating to these 3 non-UK domicile individuals because we have not studied that area. Inshallah we'll study, don't worry. Personal pension contribution, PPC. Shuttle has been the production director of Dean Limited since 1st Feb 2008. Okay. Shuttle joined the Registered Person Pension Scheme on 6 April 2018. It means from tax year 1890, she has become the member of this Registered Pension Scheme. All the rules which we have discussed, that one individual gets annual allowance limit of 40,000 if the contribution is less than the 40,000 limit. Unused annual allowance can be carried forward for 3 tax years. It will be used on FIFO basis. These all rules are only applicable when someone becomes the member of a registered pension scheme. And Shuttle has joined the registered pension scheme in 1890. It means before 1890 she was not the member of registered pension scheme. It means all those tax years before 1819 they are not relevant for us because she was not the member of registered pension scheme. So all the rules which we have discussed, they are applicable from 1819 onwards. So before 1819, if she is not contributed, if before 1819 she is having any unused limit of annual allowance, we are not supposed to work on that limit because all the rules are only applicable when she has joined the registered pension scheme. So we will not be doing anything relating to 1718. Shuttle tax position for the tax year 2021. Shuttle only source of income is her remuneration from Dean Limited. Shuttle annual salary is not 304, it is actually 204. So please make a correction. Her annual salary is 2,04,000. It's not 3,04,000. Please, her annual salary is 2,04,000. So it is a printing error or maybe typing error. A typing error would be correct. Shuttle lived in a house owned by Dean Limited for a period of during the tax year 2021. So in the current year, she lived in a house which was given by the Dean Limited. If your employer gives you an accommodation, rent-free accommodation, so there is going to be an accommodation benefit as well. I will give you a little bit idea about the accommodation benefit, but more detail of accommodation benefit will come when we'll be studying, inshallah, employment income. But definitely when you have been given a house rent-free accommodation from your employer, then taxable benefit will arise, and then that taxable benefit increases your employment income. The house was provided by Dean Limited for Shuttle's use, was purchased by Dean Limited on 1st January 2008 for 500,000. Any accommodation which is purchased by the company and originally it costed more than 75,000. If the accommodation cost more than 75,000, then such accommodation is an expensive accommodation. And in case of expensive accommodation, what happens? How do we calculate accommodation benefit? Let me give you an idea. Even though we have not discussed, but we can discuss now. Accommodation benefit. Number one, there is going to be a rent benefit, which is called basic benefit. Second, how do we calculate rent benefit? Actually, rent benefit is higher off. Rent benefit is higher off. Number one and two. Number one is rent paid by the employer. Rent paid by the employer. Second, annual value of the rent. Annual value of rent. Annual value of rent means market value of the rent. So whichever is higher is a rent benefit for the employee. But if an accommodation is an expensive accommodation, then additional benefit comes. What is that additional benefit? We'll take cost of the accommodation minus 75,000 into 2.25%. But when does this additional benefit comes? Additional benefit can only arise when accommodation is an expensive accommodation and owner has bought that accommodation and originally it costed more than 75,000. Originally it has costed more than 75,000. Okay. So come here. Dean Limited bought this accommodation for 500,000. So obviously it is an expensive accommodation. Annual value means the market value of the rent is 7,000. Shuttle lived in the house from 1st Feb till 30th June. If we count that how many months she lived in this accommodation. So from 1st Feb until 30th June. Okay, she lived, which means that in the last tax year for which we are working, that is from 6th April 2020 till 30th June 2020, in the last tax year for which we are calculating her income tax liability, she lived only for 3 months. In the tax year 2021, in the tax year 2021, she lived only for 3 months. So which means that we are going to calculate accommodation benefit, and accommodation benefit will be only for 3 months. Repeat, accommodation benefit will be only for 3 months, because in current tax year she lived in that accommodation only for 3 months. If you count from 6th April 2020 till 30th June 2020, so there are only 3 months. They have given us a market value as well. This market value is irrelevant. There is one rule when we are supposed to replace expensive accommodation cost with the market value. We will discuss that rule inshallah when we will be discussing employment income. So right now I just want to tell you one thing. This market value in this question is irrelevant. So leave it. We'll be working on 500,000. See. So there is a rule, no doubt about it. When we need to replace the cost with the market value, we'll discuss that inshallah when we'll be discussing basic employment income. Let's go ahead. Contribution to Shuttle's personal pension scheme. Shuttle has made the following gross PPC. In tax year 18-19, she has contributed 9 gross PPC. 19-20, she has contributed 38. In 2021, she has contributed 1,20,000. Deen Limited contributes 4,000 in each tax year. So logically, if in tax year 18-90 she has contributed 9, I would say it is not 9,000, it's going to be 13,000. Because in every tax year, her employer is also contributing 4,000. Repeat. If in the tax year 18-90, Shuttle has contributed 9,000, but total contribution is going to be of 13,000. In tax year 19-20, she has contributed 38, but after adding the contribution of the employer, total contribution is going to be 42. Or in the current tax year 2021, total contribution is going to be 1,24,000. So every tax year, employer is also contributing 4,000. Okay. So all we need is just calculate income tax liability for the tax year 2021. That is the requirement number 1. And in requirement number 2, we have to tell our examiner what benefit actually, what tax relief she has got because of this 1,20,000 gross PPC contribution. And let me repeat again, we have nothing to do with the tax year 17-18 annual allowance limit, because in 17-18 Shuttle was not a member of registered pension scheme. And over here, if I explain you little bit, look at this. In 18-19, okay, annual allowance limit is 40,000. Gross PPC contribution. So Shuttle contributed 9,000. Her employer has contributed 4, which means there is a total contribution of 13. If I ask you unused annual allowance, it will be obviously 27,000. But in tax year 19-20, the limit is 4,000. Okay. But the total contribution, look at the total contribution. She contributed 38,000. Her employer contributed 4, which means the total contribution is 42,000. Repeat. In tax year 19-20, the total contribution is 42,000. So how to adjust this 42,000 contribution limit or 42,000 contribution? Look what I am doing. There is a gross contribution of 42, no doubt about it. But what I am going to do? So logically, I will be deducting 40,000 from this limit. Obviously, there will be no unused limit. And what about the remaining 2,000? So remaining 2,000 will be deducted from the 18-19 unused limit. So logically, now unused limit will be only 25,000. Repeat. In tax year 19-20, okay, total gross contribution is 42,000. Out of this 40,000 will be deducted from the current tax year 19-20 annual allowance limit, but still we will be left with 2,000. That 2,000 will be deducted from 18-19 unused limit. In 1819, unused limit is 27,000, but when I deduct 2, so I'll be left with unused limit of 25,000. Now, obviously, the question comes in our mind. The question is, so why we did not go beyond 1819? Let me repeat, why I didn't go beyond 1819 and why I did not go to the tax years which are before 1819, because before 1819 Shuttle was not a member of registered pension scheme. That is why that 2000 I did not deduct it from any other tax year. I deducted only from 1819. Okay. So how do we adjust this 42,000? Let me repeat. In the tax year 1920, annual allowance limit is 40. She has contributed 42,000 total. So 40,000 will be deducted in 1920 and the remaining 2,000 will be deducted from unused limit of 1890. So it means there will be unused limit of only 25 now. In 2021, which is the current tax year, okay, if I ask you what is unused limit brought forward, so you can say the unused annual allowance limit for 2021 is 25,000. And in 2021, the annual allowance limit is 40, which means that total annual allowance limit which is available to her is 65,000. Total annual allowance limit which is available to her is 65,000 in tax year 2021. But in tax year 2021, she actually wants to contribute 120. But that 1,20,000 will be treated as 1,24,000. Why it will be treated as 1,24,000? Because she has contributed gross PPC 1,20,000 and her employer has also contributed 4,000, which means total contribution is going to be 1,24,000, which means that there is excess contribution of 59,000. This excess contribution is called annual allowance charge. On this annual allowance charge, Shuttle will have to pay tax. Okay. So I just wanted to give you an idea of all these things on the screen. I think I have given you enough idea. Now there are two possibilities. Possibility number one, you can pause the video over here and try to attempt the question by yourself. That would be great if you do that. And possibility or option number two, do not pause the video, then keep watching the video till the end. Choice is yours, you need to decide. Let me go to the Excel so that you should get the real idea about the presentation and each and everything. Let me increase the cell size so you can see easily. This question in my book is question 43. It is question 43, and actually we are discussing part A. Inshallah, after studying other areas as well, we'll be then discussing part B as well, inshallah. In part A, we are discussing, in fact, part A1. In this, we only need to calculate income tax liability. Let us try to calculate income tax liability. For tax year 2021. Okay, examiner will never give you any extra marks for, underlines and making the letters bold. You won't be getting any extra marks. So just concentrate on solving the question rather than going for headings and doing all these things. Her annual salary is 2,04,000. As I mentioned, there was an error in the book. I have written 3,04,000, but actually the salary is not 3, it is 2,04,000. So let's take the salary over here, 204,000. Now we need to add the accommodation benefit. Let us add accommodation benefit. I have to show the working for accommodation benefit. Let me go for here, working one. I'll take the rent benefit. Annual value of the rent is 7,000 if I'm not wrong. I multiply this with 3, divide this with by 12. In the current year, shuttle has left, in the current tax year, shuttle has left only for 3 months. We have to add the additional benefit. The reason being adding this additional benefit is the accommodation which was given to shuttle was an expensive accommodation. An expensive accommodation means which originally costed the company at the time of purchasing the accommodation more than 75,000. So additional benefit. Let us add this. Let me take the bracket 500,000. From this 500,000, I'll deduct 75,000. Bracket close. I have to multiply this with 2.25%. Then I need to multiply this with 3 by 12. So your additional benefit is 2391. If I add both of them, so let's see what I'll get. I'm getting 4140. Little bit if I go for rounding off. So I'm getting 4141. Looks a pretty good figure to me. So accommodation benefit is 4141. There is no other income. If we add both the salary and accommodation benefit, so I'll get the net income. She is having net income of, let's see how much is her net income. So net income is 208141. Before deducting the personal allowance, we need to check that is she entitled to get the entire personal allowance or partial personal allowance or no personal allowance. All we need is just we need to calculate adjusted net income. If her adjusted net income is 1 lakh or below that, she will get the entire personal allowance of 12,500. If she is having adjusted net income more than 125 or 125, then personal allowance will be 0. So let me deduct less personal allowance and let me show working to my marker. Working to net income. Net income is this. From net income we will be deducting gross PPC. Gross PPC. So she has made a gross contribution of 1,20,000. So I'll get A and I, but I don't think I can't see any problem not to getting the entire personal allowance. She is having A and I less than 1 lakh, so entire 1 lakh personal or entire personal allowance of 12,500 is available. So simply let me write over here also. I'll say A and I is A and I is less than 1 lakh. So she is entitled to 12,500 as personal allowance. No issue at all. Just deduct the personal allowance. Okay. So we'll have the taxable income. Let's see what is the answer of the taxable income. It is 1,95,641. Okay, now we need to check band limits because she is contributing in gross PPC, so obviously basic and high rate band limits will increase, no doubt about it. So let me show working 3. basic rate band is 37,500. Let me write over here gross PPC. She is contributing 1,20,000. So now the basic rate band limit is this much. High rate band is 150. But in this 150, I will add this 120. So let me check what is the limit. For high rate band, the limit is 270. You can add here bands limit. Okay. Now let's calculate her income tax liability. Great. Let me take the basic rate band limit, which is this, and all is non-saving, so I want to apply here. Tax rate will be 20. Tax rate is 20%, no doubt about it. So actually the higher rate band limit is 2,70,000 and taxable income is 1,95,641, which means entire Shuttle's income does fall in higher rate band. She's not going towards additional band. So what will we be doing? I'll take this minus this and I'm going to apply 40% on that. But this will not be her final answer. Now we have to check, is there any annual allowance charge? As I showed you on the screen, there was one annual allowance charge. On that annual allowance charge, she is going to pay tax. So let's go for working 4. Let's go for working 4. Tax years. Annual allowance. Gross PPC plus employer's contribution. Okay. Let me write unused limit. Okay. So we have tax year, annual allowance, gross PPC, unused limit. Tax year is 1890. Annual allowance is 40,000 and total contribution, she contributed 9,000, her employer contributed 4, so which means unused limit is 27,000. But in 1920, interesting part comes, annual allowance limit is obviously 40,000, but she contributed 42. She contributed how much? 42,000. So how I'm going to deal with that 42? Actually 40 will be deducted from 1920 and the remaining 2,000 will be deducted from 1890. Okay. So let me show you this, how I'm going to deal with that. Total contribution is 38 plus 4,000. Great. What I'm doing, keep watching. I'll be deducting. I have deducted 40 from the 40, still 2,000 is left and the remaining 2,000 will be deducted from here. So what I'm going to do, I'll just minus 2,000 from here. So now in 18-19 you have unused limit of 25 instead of 27. Now let's go to tax year 2021, which is your current year. We have unused limit of 4,000 or 40,000 in the current year. Okay. Okay, before going there, let me change the presentation. Wait for a minute. I can do one thing. Unused annual allowance limit brought forward. So this is brought forward. Okay. 2021 it is 40,000. Just a minute, what I'm doing, keep watching. So in 2021 maximum annual allowance available, annual allowance limit available. How much is available? We only have 65,000. We only have 65,000. But actually she has contributed less gross PPC plus employer's contribution. So that is, actually she has contributed 120 and employer has contributed 4,000. So total contribution is 124. So there is going to be annual allowance charge. There is going to be annual allowance charge. And on this annual allowance charge, shuttle will have to pay tax. We have a limit. Shuttle is having a limit of 65,000, but actual contribution is far more than 65. So there is an annual allowance charge of 59,000. There is an annual allowance charge of 59,000. And if you add 59,000 into 1,95,641, still you are not exceeding 270. Because if shuttle was after adding annual allowance charge amount to the taxable income, if answer were more than 270, then some of the annual allowance charge would have fall in additional rate. But right now, entire annual allowance charge also falls in higher rate band. So let me do this. Over here I want to show annual allowance charge as positive. So I have put the negative sign over there. So, but I have to show the working reference with this also. What to do? Okay, I can do this. Which working is this? That was working 3, I believe. That's great. I'll apply tax rate 40%. So here comes her income tax liability. Let me just use the sum formula which is given to you which will be given to you in exam as well. This sum formula option is available in exam. So her income tax liability is 70,356. I'll leave the point part if I go for rounding off. So this is her liability. Since it was mentioned in the question, that you can assume there is no annual allowance restriction. So that is why I did not go for threshold income to check threshold income, and I did not go for adjusted income. One more thing. You can see the adjusted net income is less than 1 lakh. When annual allowance reduces, when someone is having threshold income more than 2 lakh and adjusted income at the same time more than 240, then for that individual annual allowance for the pension starts reducing. And I did mention earlier also that the format of adjusted net income and the format of threshold income is same. So since your adjusted net income is even less than 1 lakh, So there is no question of restricting the annual allowance arises, because annual allowance will only reduce when two conditions are met. One is threshold income must be more than 2 lakh and adjusted income at the same time must be more than 240. Since ANI and threshold income both have the same format and adjusted net income is less than 1 lakh, so obviously no question of reducing annual allowance limit arises. And one more thing, it is already mentioned in the question in the tax year 2021, you can assume that there is no restriction on annual allowance. So that is why I did not check it is going to be reduced annual allowance limit or not in the current year. But question does not end over here. Examiner has asked one more thing. Let us go to see the question. So what examiner is asking in point number 2, calculate the amount of the tax relief obtained by shuttle as a consequences of gross PPC. Actually, now we have to tell our examiner what exactly benefit shuttle has got because of this gross PPC 1,20,000. So let me give you an idea first on the screen, and then I'll take you to the Excel. Relating to part 2, we just need to show what benefit exactly basically shuttle has got because of this. Shuttle has received because of this gross PPC 1,20,000 contribution. Now listen, she is having net income 208,141 if I'm not wrong. Yes. Now listen, if she is having net income 2,08,141, if there wasn't any gross PPC, in the absence of gross PPC, she is going to get personal allowance 0. The question is, in the absence of gross PPC, why would she get personal allowance 0? The reason is, if there is no gross PPC, then her adjusted net income is more than 1,25,000. And whoever is having adjusted net income more than 1,25,000, that individual gets personal allowance 0. So that is one issue. Another, if she did not contribute 1,20,000, then there will be no increase in basic and higher rate band, which means that it can be clearly seen that she is an additional rate taxpayer. So how to calculate income tax liability if she did not contribute in the absence of contributing in gross PPC? From 150, I'm going to deduct 37,500. I'll take 40% of this, because we need to tell our examiner what benefit exactly she has received due to contributing 1,20,000 gross PPC. I'm just solving this income tax liability ignoring gross PPC. So from 208,141, I'll deduct this and will take 45% of this. So 208,141 minus 150 into 45%, actually it gives me 26286. Okay, let me add. If I ignore gross PPC, let's see what is her income tax liability. No. 26286. So her income tax liability, if we ignore, so can you use the calculator please? Let me use the calculator once again. Mm-hmm. 208,141 minus 150. Oh no, 208,141 minus 1,50,000. I'll take 45% of this. So it will not be this. It is going to be 26163. Let us add 7,500 plus 45,000 plus 26163. So income tax liability ignoring PPC is higher than what we have calculated. I think what we have calculated, it was 70356. What we have calculated, it was 70,356. If I ignore gross PPC, then her income tax liability will be 78,663, which means due to gross PPC, how much tax she has saved? Due to gross PPC, how much tax she has saved? Actually, due to gross PPC, she has saved the tax of 8,307. But this is only the tax saving. She has saved one more thing. What is that? Question says the gross PPC is 1,20,000. Repeat. The question says shuttle gross PPC is 1,20,000. The gross PPC 1,20,000 means 20% of the fund is actually not paid by shuttle. 20% of 1,20,000, which is 24,000. Actually, 24,000 is also a relief. Why it is a relief? Actually, she is not contributing 1,20,000. Try to understand one thing. She has actually contributed 80% of 120. So logically, 20% is paid by HMRC. If someone else is paying on your behalf, so obviously it is a benefit for you. Try to understand. You are saying, just take it like that. You are saying, I have an investment of 1,20,000, assuming. And I am saying, but you have actually contributed 80,000. Then you told me that 20% is contributed by my father. So obviously it is a benefit for you. So out of this 120, she has not contributed entire 120. 20% is paid by HMRC. So there is another benefit of 24,000. So altogether, because of the gross PPC, she is having the benefit of, she is enjoying the benefit of 32,307. So you need to understand one thing. The question says she is having a gross PPC of 1,20,000, but actually she has not contributed the entire 120. 120 is not the net contribution, it is a gross contribution. And 20% is paid by HMRC. That is also a benefit. So to be very honest, now I would request pause the video and solve the part 2 by yourself on the Excel. Or otherwise you can continue the video. Obviously choice is yours. Let me come here for the part 2. Let me calculate. Income tax liability. Ignoring gross PPC. Okay. So net income is, I'll take the net income from here. No, I did not select the cell. Okay. Personal allowances will be 0. PA, let me show in the bracket, A and I is more than 1,25,000. So personal allowance is 0. Entire income becomes the taxable income. Entire income becomes the taxable income. Since we have ignored the gross PPC, though, there will be no increase in basic and higher rate band. So simply write 37,500. No. First put the heading income tax liability. Great. 37,500 into this, multiply by 20%. Now let me come here. 1 lakh, I need a okay, no, 1,50,000 minus this. We'll apply 40% on that. Now she is an see, if you ignore gross PPC, she becomes additional taxpayer. From this, we'll deduct 1,50,000. Sum of her income now falls in additional rate band, which is 58,141, where the tax rate is 45%. Here comes her income tax liability. Here comes her income tax liability. Let us use some formula. Ignoring gross PPC. Okay. So this is her income tax liability. So how much she get the benefit? She got the benefit because of gross PPC. Let me do that. Less income tax liability with gross PPC. So her income tax liability with gross PPC was this. So tax saving. Tax saving. Let us show tax saving to our marker examiner. But this is not the only benefit. Question said the gross contribution is 120. I told you many times, actually she has not contributed entire 120. 20% is actually paid by HMRC. So there's tax relief at source on gross PPC. That benefit is out of this 1,20,000, 20% is actually paid by HMRC. So it means total tax relief due to gross PPC. So total tax relief due to gross PPC is this plus this. It is 32,307. I strongly believe that many of your concepts are now refreshed, because before discussing the question I gave you the overview, what we studied before, and look at the answer finally. An entire thing we have solved on the Excel, so that you should be able to understand what will be the presentation, how to deal with these values. Okay. But as I promised at the start of this lecture, that at the end of the lecture we'll be discussing a little bit. I just need maybe 10 or 15 minutes more relating to, I need to discuss something relating to trust. So let me bring that handout. Wait for a minute. A very small tiny topic of trust before the employment income. After that we'll start employment income, which has 3 areas. So when the time comes we'll see trust. Actually, if someone creates a trust, trust is a separate legal entity. And trust, we say trust is a tri-party arrangement where there are 3 parties. One is the donor who is going to donate. Trustees, they are going to manage the trust, and the beneficiaries for whom the trust is being managed. Why someone creates a trust? You need to just know the idea: to give income to those who cannot manage it, to give income to the beneficiaries in a systematic manner, to save inheritance tax. How do we save inheritance tax through trust? Inshallah, we'll study. When we'll study IST, we will discuss this point. But a little bit idea I can give you. Trust never dies. Individual, we do die, no doubt about it. One day everybody is going to die. But trust never dies. How can we create the trust? There are 3 ways to create the trust. During the life, trust can be created during the life through trust deed or constitution. On death, trust can be created at the time of death through will. After death, by bringing change in the will. If we bring changes in the will of the person, deceased person, then that trust can be created. And HMRC gives you 2 years. After the death of any individual, the will can be changed within the 2 years. There are 2 types of trust. One is discretionary trust. This trust operates according to discretion of trustees, and they have full powers to take a decision of the trust. Trustees can even change beneficiaries, change business, or close the trust. Discretionary trust to save income tax, how it saves, you have to wait for that. Usually donor and trustees in the discretionary trust is the same person. But look, because discretionary trust means the trustees, they have so much power, they can even change the beneficiaries. Then normally what happens in discretionary trust, a donor is the trustee. Okay. There is one more, interest in possession trust. This trust operates according to the instruction of donors given in trust deed or will. Trustees are just an employee. In discretionary trust, beneficiary has no rights because trustees can remove them anytime. In interest in possession trust, beneficiary has rights according to the instruction of donors. Amount earned by the trust is distributed to beneficiaries. Beneficiary has to pay income tax on it. Income received from discretionary trust, this is very important for us. If someone is receiving income from the discretionary trust, then what are the tax consequences? Number one, it is taxable on receipt basis. Second is 45% withholding tax. If an individual has received income from the discretionary trust, then whatever that individual has received, it will be treated as 55%. Because 45% is already paid as tax. So repeat, income from discretionary trust, if an individual is receiving income from discretionary trust, that income will be treated 55% because 45% is already paid tax in advance. So while solving the question, we have to gross up the income. And how do we gross up the income? By multiplying with 100, and you need to divide with 55. And it will be treated as non-saving income. So three things are very important for you. Income from discretionary trust is taxable on receipt basis, number one. Number two, withholding tax. Tax paid in advance is 45%. Tax paid at source is 45%. And income from discretionary trust is a non-saving income. Now look at this. Income received from interest in possession trust. Accrual basis, it is taxable on accrual basis. Withholding tax is 20%. From IIP, if you are receiving an income, withholding tax is 20%. And 20% is applicable on source of income is trust, for example, non-saving income, like trading income, property income. Let me clear like this. If your examiner says from IIP, individual has received a non-saving income, just assume, then withholding tax is 20%. If examiner says from interest in possession trust, individual has received the saving income, interest income, which is very dangerous for the life. Let's say individual has received an interest in saving income from the interest in possession trust, again the withholding tax will be 20%. But if your examiner says individual has received the dividend income from interest in possession trust, dividend income withholding tax is 7.5%. So let me repeat. If an individual is receiving non-saving income from interest in possession trust, withholding tax is 20%. Withholding 20% means he has paid 20% tax in advance. If individual has received saving income, again the withholding tax is 20%. If individual has received dividend income from interest in possession trust, then withholding tax is 7.5%, which means he has paid 7.5% tax in advance. So only you have to remember this. And for discretionary trust, you need to remember only one thing. Whatever income someone is receiving from the discretionary trust, entire income is treated as non-saving, number one. And withholding tax is 45%. Repeat. If someone is receiving income from the discretionary trust, then entire income is non-saving and withholding tax is 45%. This is what you need to remember. And how do we gross up when I have paid 20% advance? Whatever the income is, multiply by 100 divided by 80, 100 upon 80. Over here, I'll multiply 100 upon 92.5 to make it gross. Because withholding is 7.5. Look at this. When withholding was 20, I divided with 80. When withholding was 20, I divided with 80. Because if I deduct 20 from 100, I'll get 80. But when withholding is 7.5%, I'm dividing with 92.5, because if you deduct 7.5 from 100, obviously you will get 92.5. So let us solve this question 25. Let's deal with question 25 and 26. That's it. Mr. N has the following income during the year ended March 2021. March 2021. So tax year is going to be 2021. Pension income is a non-saving income. Income from discretionary trust is 55%. We have to gross it up. Trading income, income from bank interest is 16,000 and dividend income is 10,000. So we just need to calculate income tax liability for question 25. To be very honest, again I would request pause the video and attempt question 25. I'm just solving this question 25. Okay. Let us solve this question 25 on Excel. I believe on Excel the speed will be little bit more than solving on the screen. So let's go to Excel. Slowly and gradually you people will also get addicted to Excel, which is good, I believe. Getting addiction to Excel. Question 25 from book, page 24. Okay. Non-saving income. Next column will be saving income. Third column will be dividend income. And the last column will be obviously total. Pension income is a non-saving income, no doubt about it. Amount of the pension income is 16,500 total. I need to bring this into total as well. I don't know what is happening. After pension income, we have income from discretionary trust. Income from discretionary trust is treated as a non-saving income on which we have paid 45% at source. Income from discretionary trust. The amount is 9,000. I have to multiply this with 100 to make it gross, divide this with 55. So gross amount is this. If I can do a little bit rounding off, which is not required in exam, you can carry on with the points, no issue at all. Just rounding off looks, the face of the value looks better, good, nothing else. We have trading income. This is also a non-saving income. Trading income is again a non-saving income. The amount is 25,500. The amount is 25,500. Okay. Finally, we have bank interest. As I told you, should try to keep yourself away from the interest, because taking interest is not good. It makes you poor. Interest cannot make you rich. Okay, now let's go for dividend income. Okay, it's here. Now let's calculate total income. So total of the non-saving income is 58,364. Saving is this, and dividend is this. Let me go here. Oh my god. What is this on the earth? Why so many points even though there wasn't any point? I have no idea. Okay, no, sorry. So it is. Let me use the calculator also if I made any mistake. Let me check. Yes, perfect. We'll be deducting personal allowance from non-saving income. We will be deducting personal allowance from non-saving income. Same comes here. So we'll get taxable income. Taxable income. So let's see, check what we are getting over here. I hope there shouldn't be any points now. Okay. So now let's calculate income tax liability. Income tax liability. So this individual is a high rate taxpayer, no doubt about it. This individual is having non-saving income even more than the basic rate band. Let me first write the basic rate band limit 37,500. I'll be calculating income tax liability in this column so that just to show more clarity to my marker. From this 45,864 I'll deduct this. Okay, let me show one more thing to my marker. He may appreciate. Non-saving. That's great. Now the more clarity will come. Actually 8364 is non-saving income. That's great. Now let's go to saving income. Since this individual is a high rate taxpayer, so this individual is entitled to get saving income nil rate band of 500 only. So I'll write 500. I'll write nil rate band of nil rate band for saving income. That's simply great. So what I'll do, I'll take 500 into 0%. It gives me 0. Okay. Now this minus the nil rate band. Obviously 16,000 does fall in a high rate band. No, I have to mention this is saving income. So I multiply this with 40%. Now for dividend income, 2,000 is a nil rate. Every individual gets nil rate band of 2,000 no matter, irrespective of tax paying status. So nil rate band for, instead of saving, I'll write dividend. Okay. So tax rate is 0%. Great. So I'll take 10,000 from this 10. I'm going to deduct this 2,000. I'll mention over here it is dividend income to my marker. And tax rate is 32.5%. Okay. Because in dividend income, high rate band, tax rate is 32.5%. So here comes the income tax liability. Let us add all of them by using the sum formula that makes life easier. But this is not your final answer. Since this individual has paid 45% tax in advance, you will get tax credit. Less tax credit. So how do we get tax credit? This is in Look at this. This was no. Come here. This was income from the discretionary trust. Okay. So what do we have to do? 9,000. We multiply this with 100 divided by 55. Yes, this was the answer. So we multiply this with 45% because the tax which was paid in advance was 45%. So logically, your income tax payable is how much? So this is your final answer. Income tax payable. So this gentleman is having income tax payable of 12,000. Okay. This individual is having income tax payable of 12,482. Let's go to the last question of today's class. Class has become a little bit, you can say, longer. No issue at all. Look at the question 26. But this trust topic, just trust me, will be in today, inshallah. Question 26. Mr. N has the following income during the year ended March 21, which means March 21. Property income 27. Income from interest and possession trust 18,000, which is entire interest income. We have to gross up by multiplying 100 and divide this with 80. Bank interest is 29,000 and dividend is 7. So now it is an humble request. Should pause the video and attempt the question. Otherwise, we can go to the Excel and deal with question 26 of the book. Okay, let me do this instead of. No. Okay, great. Non-saving income. Saving income. Dividend income. Final column is of total. We have property income, which is a non-saving income. The amount of the property income is 27,000. Let me bring this into total column as well. Then we have interest income from IAP. Interest income from IAP. We have to gross this. The amount is 18,000. So multiply this with 100 divided by 80. Okay. Now we have bank interest. Bank interest is 29,000. We never gross bank interest. Okay. Only interest from IEP is being grossed by multiplying with 100 and divided by 80. We have dividend income of 7,000. Okay. We are very near to the end of the class. This is the luxury of the Excel that we are getting many things very easily. No. You can use the sum formula over here. Personal allowance will be deducted from non-saving income, of course. Personal allowance. Oh no, it is 12,500. We'll take this personal allowance here. So we'll be having taxable income. 27,000 plus this. See, if you are a little bit good in numbers, P6 will not disturb you. And when you are studying from Sir Abil Ahmed, so inshallah you will have no issue at all, because we are there to help you. Don't worry, buddy. We have tax. Let's now calculate tax. Now calculate income tax liability. Okay. So 14,500. That 14,500 of the non-saving income falls in basic rate band. I have to mention here to my marker. It is non-saving income. Great. So I'll apply the tax rate. 20%. Yes. Since this individual is a high rate taxpayer, by looking at 73,000, we can say this individual is a high rate taxpayer. So when it comes to saving income, so this individual is entitled to get nil rate band of 500. Okay. Nil rate band for saving income. Great. Nil rate band is here. Now we have to see how much space is left for the basic rate band. But because this individual is having a interest income of 51,500. Yes. So how much is left? Limit is left for the basic rate band. From 37,500, I have to deduct these two values. So this is left in basic rate band. Saving income. Tax rate is 20%. Now let us see what amount from the saving income now falls in higher rate band, because we are done with the basic rate band. There is no space in basic rate band. So we have 51,500 in saving income. Out of that, 500 came in basic nil rate band. 22,500 came in basic rate band. So in high rate band, 28,500 falls. Still, it is saving income, but now it is 28,500 falls in higher rate band, with the tax rate is 40%. Great. Now we are done with saving income. Let's go for dividend income. Okay. 2,000, that is the nil rate band for not saving, for dividend income. Just delete saving and write dividend income. So tax rate is 0%. Just write dividend income. This 5,000 of dividend income falls in high rate band, with the tax rate is 32.5%. So I hope we're just 1 minute away from ending the class. Hang on guys, hang on. I can understand the class is a little bit longer as compared to the previous classes, but what to do? We had to finish this topic so that we can start employment income. Just less tax credit, the tax which we have already paid in advance. So how much tax we have already paid in advance? It was 22,500. We have to multiply this with 20%. So your tax credit is 4,500. So tax payable. That's great guys. Thank you very much for the patience. So tax payable is 15,925. That's just simply great. So that was all about this class. Inshallah, from the next class we will inshallah start employment income, which has the three areas: One relates to share options, second relates to termination benefit, and third belongs to basic employment income. But we'll be discussing inshallah all of them in very detail. In extremely detail, we'll be discussing those areas inshallah. I would only request just focus on lectures, keep revising them. You can see one more thing. Where examiner is asking the drafting, I go for the drafting as well. And so far we have solved, in out of these 10 lectures, we have solved 2 KIT questions as well. One was Stella and Morris, and the second is Shuttle. So slowly and gradually, whenever the time comes and whenever we are in a position to solve the KIT question, I'll be discussing the KIT question with you. Because when you are solving KIT questions, that is past paper question, then you will come to know what is the level of difficulty. And then you will come to know what should be the way of preparing for P6. So just I would say thank you very much, and one request. Please, it's a very humble request which I have made earlier also. Please do not share your password and email address of the portal with anyone. It's a very humble request, because this is bread and butter for me and my family and those people they are associated with me. So please never do that. Never ever do that. If you are happy, I strongly believe you are happy and convinced with us. If you like my quality, then it's a request. Spread the word. Tell other people about Sir Abil. And I'm not only teaching. Let me tell you, I don't only teach P6. I teach many other papers as well. I do teach F9, P4, SBR, F7, F5, F6. So plenty of papers I teach, alhamdulillah. And in P4, I have a world position. In F9, I have a world position. So in SBR, I got 3 positions. So alhamdulillah, in each and every paper, I got the positions. So it's a request. You can just spread the words. And one more thing. For the coming session, I'm going to launch my live online classes for ATX, F9, P4, SBR, for all these papers. So if you have any friends, you can recommend them. Recorded lectures will be available, as well as I'm going to announce live classes also. So thank you very much, guys, listening to me with the patience. I really appreciate. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day, nice evening, nice night, and nice life. Thanks a lot.